There's a ton of stuff on Marketplace. I've not obviously had time to look at in detail every single thing out there, but there are a good handful of things on the Marketplace that we find ourselves using over and over again. And this is just a subset of those. We didn't have, whole unlimited time today to talk to you about every application we love. But we picked out a few of our favorite apps and we're going to walk you through what those do just to give you some ideas of some of the things you might find on Marketplace. And maybe you'll find something that is of interest to you. Or maybe it will spark an idea for you of something else you want to go look for on the Marketplace. So the first one we're going to look at is probably the number one most used one for me, at least. I pretty much install this for every single one of our customers when I'm starting a project with them. And this is the reload data button. So this is a free app. It was actually created by Creatio. And it just adds a reload button to every page, every record page and every list page so that you can reload data without doing a full page refresh. It makes the refresh process a lot less painful. So that instead of having to wait for the entire page to refresh and rebuild all the cache, if I want to reload this list and see if there's any new data that fits my search, I can just click my reload button here and it just refreshes my data instead of the full screen. Same thing if I'm in a record. I have a refresh data button here. I can reload just the data on my screen rather than the full screen. And I can even do that with any of my detail lists throughout the record. So if I want to reload a specific list on the page, I'll have that reload button available everywhere. I find that this is a really simple but nice time saver for users. I use it myself all the time. If I'm in a site that doesn't have it installed, I always end up looking for it and realizing it's not installed and then asking the customer I'm working with for permission to install it because it, is something that I miss if it's not there. I will say this is actually now a standard function for Freedom UI Designer pages. So if you've started using any of the 8.x Freedom UI Designer pieces in Creatio, you won't need this add-on anymore once you've transitioned to using those pages because it's included on those pages by default. I'll actually have a couple comments about things that do or don't work with the Freedom UI pages currently as things stand right now, because right now we kind of have that transition period going on where some things are starting to use the new Freedom UI Designer. A lot of the app is still using the old Section Wizard page designer. So you'll see some differences for some of these add-ons with how they interact with those two different versions of pages. All right, the second one on my list here is the Calculated Metrics app. So this is another free one. It was developed by Creatio Dev Labs, which is basically just meaning that it's someone at Creatio other than the core product team. And it adds a new report type for dashboards called a calculated metric. So essentially, if you're familiar with metrics on your dashboard, that's when you're calculating something like a count or a sum of a field for a particular set of data. The calculated metrics lets you do more complex calculations as part of that metric. So I think the biggest thing here that I have found is that each part of the calculation gets set up separately. So you can apply different filters. Like I can say, how many opportunities do I have total? How many of them have been won? Or how many activities have been scheduled total? How many of them have been completed? Something like that. And I can set up the different logic with different filters for those two different things that are part of my calculation. So if we jump over to Creatio, I've got that one installed here. Here's a simple dashboard that I built. These two are standard metrics. So it's just counting how many opportunities have been won this year and how many opportunities have been lost this year. And those are using the standard metric capabilities. So just a simple setup here where it's not wanting to load for some reason. Interesting. Let me refresh this page. I installed an app at the last minute for the demo, so I might need to just refresh things after that. There we go. All right. So this is just your basic standard metric. In this case, I'm doing a count, but I can also do a sum or an average. But I can't do something more complex than what's in this list here. And so if I want to do something like out of all the opportunities that we've closed this year, what percentage of them did we win? Well, a standard metric can't do that, but a calculated metric can. So this add-on just adds another option to your dashboard menu to build a calculated metric. And it gives you an array of additional functions that you can do where you're doing different types of math. This number times that number, this number plus that number, this number divided by that number. And by the way, you can actually define your own functions as well if there were other calculations you needed besides this default set. So for my calculated metric, I wanted to know what percentage of opportunities we've won this year. So I did a percentage, A divided by B times 100 as my formula. And then what you do is you set up how to calculate number A in this formula and how to calculate number B in this formula. So how many opportunities have I won this year is my A, stage is closed on this year, versus how many opportunities total have I closed this year? My filter is just closed this year, so dropping off that stage filter. And so I'm saying take the number of opportunities I've won divided by the total number of opportunities I've closed and multiply it times 100 so that I get, 83 instead of 0.83. So really basic, really simple, but also really helpful in order to just kind of expand out the number of calculations that you can do with a metric. Here again, I did have a note on this one that as of now, at least, this only works with the dashboards and not home pages or Freedom UI dashboard pages. So this is working with the older dashboard functions right now. Currently, there's not a corresponding tool for homepage or Freedom UI pages, although I imagine that will develop over time. Third one I've got on my list here is the business card scanner. This is a pretty common request, although people are starting to get away from business cards now, I feel like. But if you're still, attending events and getting actual physical business cards handed to you, you don't want to have to type all that information in when you're done. This add-on adds a scan business card action to the mobile app, and it can create contacts or leads from that scanned business card. So I'm not going to actually demo this one because I don't want to deal with getting my phone screen shared with you all. But you can see from the screenshots here, it just adds a new action to scan a business card. And you can create a lead or a contact off of that, and it will just bring that information in. It will show you a preview of what it's going to look like before you save it to the record in Creatio. This is a good example of something that has some, good setup instructions. You do have to do some work in order to set this one up. It's got, it integrates with a scanner software, which is free, but you do have to sign up and set up that scanner function. So it will walk you step by step through how to do that. And most of the add-ons are pretty good at providing that documentation. Again, Creatio is good about, kind of requiring that as part of the process of adding something to the marketplace. I will say that's something to watch out for. Sometimes the Creatio connector on the marketplace is free, but the thing it's connecting to might not be. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the setup, especially if it's connecting Creatio to another tool or to another software. That software itself may have a fee, even if the connector is listed as free. In this case, the software that it's using is also free, so no big deal there. All right, next one that also is pretty popular with a few of our customers is the Excel report builder. So the Excel report builder is a free add-on created by Creatio Dev Labs again. And this allows you to create Excel templated reports that you can download from Creatio, either from within a section or record or as custom reports. They've got some different options in terms of how you build your report and therefore how you use it. So essentially, this is just adding another reporting mechanism into Creatio in addition to dashboards and filters and folders and printables. This gives you another tool that you can use for getting your data out of Creatio. So I've set up a couple of reports here. They're not super exciting, but I just want to kind of give you some idea of how this might work. So I've got my Excel reports menu here because I've set up a report in my accounts section list where I can just download a list of the accounts that are in my data here. It does listen to my filters. So if I put a different filter on, I'd get different data in my download than I did in this case. I'm only going to have these 6 or 7, however many accounts that is there in my report this time. And within your report setting, you set up what columns you want to include in your report. So you might notice this isn't one-for-one matching with the columns that I had on my view in Creatio. It's the columns that I defined as part of my report. And the other thing you can do is you can create charts or pivot tables or things like that with your data. So Creatio is going to populate this tab for you, but then you can use that tab to create reports and just include those reports in your template. And so I have a couple of basic pivot tables in here and charts that I set up just as an example. And then you can also set up reports that you download directly from the Excel reports section. I have that set up in my studio workplace, but you could put it in any workplace if you wanted all your users to access this function, through the main, sales list or whatever workspace your users are in. So this has a little bit more options in terms of filtering, and you can just generate the report from here. But essentially it's the same idea. It's going to give you that report of all of the data that's set up here in terms of my columns that I included. And again, I set up a couple of other tabs in here with some additional reports because I was playing around with this, just learning how to use it. So again, you have that flexibility to decide, where do I want this report to be run from? Do I want the users to see it right in the section, or do I want to build in that logic for what data to include right here in my filters? And then I did see there's a question in chat about roles. You can actually set that up right here within the report setting, is which users are going to be able to run this particular report. All right. And then I think I've got one more before I hand it back to Anjum. Yes, that's right, the printable attachments. So this is an add-on that works with Creatio's default printable report functionality. As you might know, if you use printables, the default functionality here in Creatio is the user downloads the report. Sometimes you just want the report to be attached to the current record rather than having to download it and then upload it back to Creatio. And so this is a free add-on that does that for you. So it just adds an action here in the attachment section. And I can show you this if I find the right window. There we go. So I've got a couple of printables in my opportunities section. This is just that default native functionality where I would download the printable if I click that action. So here it is. But the add-on gives me the option to just attach the printable directly to the record. So rather than downloading it, saving it into Creatio as an attachment. And obviously then I could also download it from here if I wanted to. But depending on what your process is and what you want to use that printable for, sometimes the download may not be necessary. Just saving it to Creatio might be what you need. And with that, I believe I'm going to turn it back over to Anjum. She's going to demo a couple more of her favorite add-ons, and then we'll move towards wrapping up.
Sounds good. Thank you, Megan. So another useful application that I'd like to discuss is Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp chat channels. These basically are created by Creatio, and these are also free applications. It's a platform feature, which means that it's available for studio, sales, marketing, service, and any product. It's not just limited to the CRM bundle. Basically, it allows the processing of messages from Facebook and WhatsApp in Creatio. So let me switch over to Creatio and show you a little bit about how that works. So here I'm in my contact section, and if I select a contact, basically you have these options for Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. These can be, once the application is installed, you would basically set up the chat settings in the System Designer in the Import and Integration tab. Get down there under Chat Settings. Basically, it will show channels that are available. Currently, just downloaded the Facebook Messenger, but WhatsApp would also show here. You can set up a chat queue, which basically just says which teams and agents are using the chat, chat actions, and then add channels right here. So if we go back, for any of the agents that are active for chat, basically that setting would be in their profile. They can set up whether they're going to be active or inactive and if they would receive any chat messages. In the menu bar on the right, this icon for chats, once that's clicked, it would show any chats that are available or any chats that have come in. It would show a list by active or inactive chats. So once you set that to active, any chats that would come in would show up here and you'd get a notification. So going back to another useful application. This is specific to the pharmaceutical industry. This is fairly new, created by Creatio. There is a cost associated with this one, which is $900 per user per year, and that varies based on cloud or on-prem. There is a free trial period with that. Basically, this application features customer segmentation, field force, and mobile sales. It gives you an access to doctors' contacts and information about all your field sales reps and pharmacies, the history of interactions, and gives a complete customer view, which enables you to develop like a suitable strategy for any customer interactions that you have. So for customer segmentation, basically the application groups customers based on the opportunity, loyalty level, and customer profiles and recommendations. So it segments the database based on additional parameters as well, like territory, pricing, and the season. Field force and mobile sales, it uses the built-in field sales application and creates a schedule of visits for each rep. It gives you the ability to set up rules or action items to complete for each visit for different categories of customers like doctors or pharmacies. You can monitor visits using geotags, using check-in and check-out. And then sales reps that are out on the field can use the Pharma Creatio mobile app to view the locations on the map to plan their visits, and to monitor product availability and place orders on the app. And then once that's done, orders are placed or any check-ins, basically the results go on record in the system during and after the visit. Now the mobile app can be used both online and offline mode. So I won't be demoing the mobile app right now, but I'll show you a demo of the pharma application on the desktop. Let me pull that over the Creatio. Basically, in the activity section here, I can pull up my calendar view, which shows a list of all the upcoming appointments. This would show up in the field sales mobile app as well with the geolocation, so reps can plan out their visits based on location. If I click into a visit, it gives additional details. General information, the location information, which participants were included in that visit, and then the action items. So let me go back to one where action items were completed. Get out of this. Let's try that one. So basically, when the field sales rep within the app, they can, once they arrive at the location, they would check in with using the geolocation feature. Once that's completed, the rest of the action items that can be configured through the app settings would show up in order that they're supposed to be completed in. So some of the the action items that we set up are presentation, the participants, if an order was placed, monitoring product stock, like at a pharmacy, any expenses incurred in the visit. And then once the visit's completed, they would check out. So these would show up in the app basically in order that they're required, and they can't be moved forward until the previous one was completed. So for check-in, I'll show you a feature that's pretty cool. Once the check-in is completed, managers can check and make sure check-in was, so it shows the location of the visit and where they've checked in. So this one wasn't done at the location, but you'd hope to see them being at the same place. So basically there's a lot of cool features here. Once the order is placed, it updates product availability, and all expenses and participants are all noted within that activity, which and the related records as well.